right, let's talk about how we're going to try and assist in the relief efforts down in KZN. Every bit helps. The Solidarity Fund, in fact, going to be used for flood relief efforts in the province. It was created back in 2020, I'm sure you remember, to respond to the COVID-19 crisis. Now we have another crisis as well, joined by by Martin Kingston from the fund. Hello to you, Martin. Always good to have you on ENCA. So many people are going to want to know the obvious question: how much money do you have?
Well, good morning, Gareth, to you and your viewers. We're thrilled that we're able to remobilise the structures of the Solidarity Fund to support the relief effort in the light of the floods that have taken place in KZN and the Eastern Cape. We were in the process of transitioning down the fund. You'll remember, as you said, that 2 years ago we were established primarily as a response to the pandemic, and we raised in that case some 3.5 billion rand, almost all of which has now been dispersed. And then we again mobilized in the context of the unrest in the middle of last year, and there we raised some 670 million rand, again, most of which has been dispersed. As the President indicated on Monday, we're now taking contributions from government, from the public at large, to see how we can assist in the humanitarian relief effort, as I said, in the light of the floods. We're still discussing with National Treasury and government what the quantum will be and what the timing of the receipt of those funds will be. We opened the bank account, which is a dedicated bank account, yesterday. The details can be accessed on the Solidarity Fund website, but we've got the team that is ready to work with all of our social partners, government, civil society and business, to try and alleviate all of the issues that have arisen in the past week.
So quite a lot of money, obviously, for COVID in the beginning, because that's why it was created. Then the July riots last year, Martin, I'm assuming you were talking about that. But as it stands right now, is this we're trying to get some money into the Solidarity Fund to use, or is there at least any money in there that can go somewhere to help some people?
No, we can't use any of the funding that we raised previously. That was for very specific purposes, where, if you like, a single-purpose vehicle. We've been able to satisfy ourselves, and the board has satisfied itself, that we are able to assist in the context of the humanitarian relief of the flood. But that's a separate fundraising exercise, which, as I said, commenced yesterday. So we'll only be able to start publishing details of how much has been received, both from government when they've made their own announcement, and from the public post-activation, as I said, of that bank account. But we're working already with not only the arms of government, as I said, and civil society, but also, critically important, with agencies that will be able to execute very effectively on the ground, as we need to get relief to the individuals who've been affected as quickly as possible.
Yeah, critically as well, I'm sure you'll be aware of some of the reaction to government handling the funding. Martin, I'm sure you knew I was going to ask you this as well. Talk to me about the trust levels, which many South Africans don't seem to have in the way government is handling the funds for this. What's your reaction to that critique?
Well, the President himself, I believe, addressed that head-on when he spoke to the nation on Monday. One of the Solidarity Fund's strengths, of course, is it's not accountable to one part of society, but to all of society. When we established it 2 years ago, that was between government, business and other social partners, we were very minded to the fact that it needed to be seen to be completely and totally independent, that it had an autonomous board, that it was accountable, as I said, to the nation as a whole. And thus far, we've had a clean audit for the last 2 years. We've been able to satisfy everybody that the funding that has been raised has effectively and impactfully got to its intended beneficiaries, that there's been no frictional costs, there's been no scandal of any sort associated with the funding that has been dispersed by the Solidarity Fund. And I believe that it's therefore held in a position of considerable trust by people broadly within South Africa, and therefore is an appropriate route to channel both donations and other commitments in kind.
And the Solidarity Fund did incredibly well during the early days of COVID-19. I'm curious, Martin, just before I let you go, I mean, we can't fix all problems in the world all at once. How concerned are you that we are seeing a slight uptick in COVID-19 numbers? If obviously the flooding is the priority right now, do you foresee a flexibility in financing if we have another COVID-19 outbreak? Hopefully not, but would you be prepared for that?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Gareth. In fact, I think many of us anticipate a fifth wave imminently. We don't know whether it started or not, but you're right, there has been an uptick. The Solidarity Fund is still involved in and committed to the COVID pandemic. It has a number of programs. There were some 33 health interventions alone that were rolled out, many of which are still current, and that will carry on until we've exhausted all of the funding that I talked about, the 3.5 billion rand that was raised for COVID. So that'll see us through certainly the fifth wave, but I believe, as we all have come to understand, we're going to have to learn to live with COVID, and actually, therefore, behavior change is at the center of how we need to deal with those challenges. And the Solidarity Fund has been and continues to be fully invested in a number of behavior change programs, some 15 or so projects, which hopefully will assist in that regard.
Yeah, it's almost 2 years later, over 2 years later. I'm sure by now we've all learned what we're supposed to do and not supposed to do. Martin Kingston, always a pleasure to have you on ENCI.